I'm 78. Thank you. It's not that bad. I mean, my hero is Harrison Ford. He turned 81 last summer. He was 81. Yeah. He's making another movie. It's going to be called Indiana Jones and the Enlarged Prostate. Well, they're going to test market that title. If that doesn't work, the backup one is Indiana Jones and the Reverse Mortgage. And he's got another project. Remember The Fugitive? The movie, not the TV, the movie The Fugitive? They're doing this. In this latest episode, Dr. Richard Kimball flees assisted living. My wife and I have been married for 54 years. We met in 1964. I was home from college on vacation, and I was hanging out with a friend whose younger sister was hosting a slumber party for 6 girls with whom she just graduated high school. We crashed the party, of course, and for some reason they were all sitting on the floor of the kitchen. I looked down, I saw one really cute girl. I thought to myself, wow, you know, she's wearing pink baby doll pajamas. I thought, she would look great in clothes. When we got married in 1969, my wife didn't have the choices women have today. Today, women can take their husband's names, they can hyphenate their names, they can keep their maiden names. Back then, my wife did the traditional thing. She took my name. Her name used to be Sherry Zink, and now it's Bob Zink. And our lives are totally in sync. For example, at the same time I got hearing aids, she stopped mumbling. Let me tell you a little about the background of that story, that joke. When the Pope came to America in 2015, a large Catholic relief group called the Pontifical Mission Societies of America decided, you know, the Pope has a great sense of humor. Let's hold a joke with the Pope contest. Jimmy Fallon announced it on The Tonight Show. He asked people to send in videos of them telling a joke they think the Pope would like. They had 4,000 entries, including Cardinal Doyle, Brooke Shields, Al Roker, Bill Murray, 4,000 entries from 47 countries. And that joke about the hearing aids, that won. I am the honorary comedic advisor to the Pope. Of course, if I ever met the Pope, I don't think I'd tell him that joke. Because look, English is his 4th language. I would tell him a joke that has simple words and repeating words. This is the joke I would tell the Pope if I ever met him. Hello? Hello, sweetheart, is your mommy home? Mommy's busy. Was Daddy there? Daddy's busy. Was anyone else home? The firemen. Oh, let me talk to one of the firemen. They're busy. Was anything else there? The policemen. All right, sweetie, put one of the policemen on the... They're busy. Well, what are they all doing? They're looking for me. So, this joke with the Pope contest, my winning, went all over the world. NPR, PBS, all kinds of newspapers, even a South African puppet news program on television had a segment on the rabbi who won the contest. I want to show it to you. This is from South African TV.
So, a rabbi walks into the Vatican.
We don't have time for jokes now, Justice. This is the news part. The part with actual news.
This is actual news. A rabbi has won a contest to be the Pope's official joke advisor.
You are kidding me.
It's true, but I will be kidding you soon if my advisor works well.
So, what exactly does the job entail?
Well, just suggesting jokes for my speeches. As you know, I talk a lot, and it's really boring sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yes, so I I add jokes.
Sounds like an awesome job. Don't you think that maybe you should have a backup joke guy, in case anything happens to your rabbi? It can be dangerous out there for a rabbi.
Are you passively aggressively threatening the Pope's rabbi?
How dare you suggest such a thing? I never would. But if he happened to fall off the Vatican balcony, maybe the Pope would like a joke understudy?
I don't know. Aren't you any good?
Need an ark? I know a guy. Get it? I know a guy. I know a guy, as in Noah. Noah's ark.
I have heard this one before.
Okay. How does Moses make his coffee? Come on, guys. How does Moses make his coffee?
How?
He brews it. You get it, as in Hebrews? Hebrews, the Jewish people.
I think I'm going to go with hoping the rabbi doesn't die. Although that other guy from your country is quite funny. That what's his name? Trevor. Do you know him? Noah? Get it? I'm so funny. I should sack the rabbi. Screw him. I can't do this alone.
So my wife's a psychotherapist, and we have a good relationship, an agreement. I don't criticize the way she does therapy, and she criticizes the way I do comedy. But she tells me things that happen. She was at a convention, and one of the presenters told about working with a couple around the issue of communication in their marriage. At a certain point, the therapist said to the wife, "Well, let me ask you, how do you express when you want to make love?" The one said, "Well, I say, sweetheart, I'm going upstairs now, gonna take a long, hot shower." Her husband said, "That's what you've been telling me? All these years I thought you meant I shouldn't run the dishwasher." Sherry had a colonoscopy. It's routine, we should all do it. And I was at the hospital in the waiting room. It was late afternoon. There's only one other man there. He was watching television. It was kind of blaring, and I was trying to read. A nurse walked in. She said, "Mr. Albert?" As well as it's Alper. She said, "Well, your wife is all set. Let me take you to her room." We got up there. She said, "Would you like me to see she's ready?" I said, "No, thank you. We've been married for 54 years. So I walked into the room, and there was Mrs. Albert. She was not ready. Not happy either. I had a medical procedure. I'm going to use terms that I don't think any other comedian has ever used in comedy. The terms are urethra and cystoscopy, right? My urologist wanted to check out my bladder. What he found was lovely. I mean, he posted photos of my bladder in his waiting room. It's really, really lovely. But to do that, what they do is they take a tube and they put the tube into your urethra and up into your bladder. And at the end of the tube, there's a light and a camera on a little tiny iPhone 12. So I was in the room waiting, and the anesthesiologist walked in with a very attractive young woman by his side. He said, "This is Dr. Richmond. She's a resident, and she'd like to observe the procedure." Well, I thought, great, it's not going to be humiliating enough. Let's just add this to it. Then I realized I'm going to be asleep, so what? So I said to her, "So, what's your specialty?" She said, "Podiatry." The thing is, when I woke up, all of my toenails had been trimmed. So we have two children. We have an adorable 51-year-old, cutie patootie 47-year-old, both still in the gifted program. Both still on my Verizon plan. You know, the toughest time raising kids, I don't need to tell you, was when they were teenagers. But it turns out the Bible actually talks about kids that age. According to one of the commentaries, the reason Abraham was about to sacrifice Isaac at the age of 12 and not 13, it's because at 13, it wouldn't have been a sacrifice. We follow Jewish tradition in our family. We named our son after my grandfather. We call him Grandpa. When he was in high school, he did an exchange with a French kid. Zach spent 3 weeks in Paris. Xavier spent 3 weeks with us. His last day, he took all his remaining money, about $250, and bought a black leather jacket with brass buckles and brass buttons all over the thing. Showed it to me with a huge grin and said, "My parents will eat this jacket." And when my daughter was a teenager, she had a boyfriend that really liked him. He was a nice kid. He was bright, kind, and polite. My wife and I always used to refer to him as her Christian suitor. And the reason we called him her Christian suitor is because his name was Christian Suitor. Can't make that up. We have little kids in our family. My nephew has 11-year-old twins. He's always saying to them, "Remember, one of you was unplanned." My neighbor has a 3-year-old. I called his house. She said, "My daddy took me to the animal zoo. My daddy's the best daddy in the world. I love my daddy." On the phone, I said, "Carl, enjoy her while she's stupid." And my niece has a 4-year-old grandson. We were at a restaurant, and he had to go to the bathroom, so I took him. He went into the stall. I was out there by the sink waiting, and apparently they had one of these electric toilets with the blinking red light. Because at a certain point I heard him say, "You know, Uncle Bob, these things take your picture." So we have a dog and a couple of cats. The dog is a recent acquisition because our old dog died. Yeah, and those of you who lost pets, no, it's not an easy thing. In fact, years ago, the show, remember Kids Say the Darndest Things, the original with Art Linkletter? A little kid had a sad expression. Linkletter said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Well, my dog died." Linkletter said, "Well, now your dog's in heaven." And the kid says, "What does God want with a dead dog?" Heard about a family where the dog killed the little boy's turtle. So they had a funeral in the backyard, and they're standing around this hole in the ground. Finally, no one was saying anything, and Michael, this little 8-year-old, was asked to speak. So he thought for a minute and finally said, "Baruch atah Adonai, turtle's gotta die." I told that story to a Catholic friend of mine. He told me when his little girl's goldfish died, the same thing. They had a funeral in the backyard with his 8-year-old kid officiating. She ended by saying, "Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and into the Holy Ghost." So, you know, I like to talk about my dog. It's therapeutic. He had an interesting history, especially when I'm in Florida. He came from Florida. He's a Florida dog. He was the victim of one of the hurricanes you have down here. And as happens, sometimes the houses are destroyed and they can't keep the dogs. Sometimes the dogs are simply blown away and never reunited. They took these dogs and they put them in kennels for a few months until they organized to the point where they're able to take the purebred dogs and send them across the country to kennel societies. Our dog, he was one of them, though. Well, he was a mongrel. He came up by bus. Greyhound. I have to say that. Gotta say it. So, I named him Gideon. Gideon. You know, I wanted to give him a good biblical name, and I was in a hotel room one night. That's the first time I've done this joke in a long time. Younger audience never get that joke. Older audience, they get it. Anyway, but he was Gideon. He was a great dog. It turns out he was a real southern dog, too, because dogs in our neighborhood, when they'd bark, you'd hear, woof, woof. And when Giddy would bark, you'd hear, woof, woof. So, after Giddy died, we waited about a year, and then we decided to adopt another dog. I mean, adopt, like, is there any other way? We had him naturally. No, you didn't. No. The only way you get the dog is you adopt another dog. So we got this guy. We learned a few things about him. First of all, he was born to a single mom. And he came from Puerto Rico. There's a terrible dog problem in Puerto Rico. I mean, they're all over the place. They're lovely dogs, but they throw them off bridges. It's awful. They found the litter, and they rescued the litter, and they weaned them, and they eventually sent them to the United States for fostering, and we got him when he was about 6 months old. Problem is, he arrived with the name Jesus. A Jewish family, dog named Jesus. So we decided to compromise, and we called him Zeus. Zeus. Then if we had to get his attention, we'd say, "Hey, Zeus!" You know. Turns out, dogs grow into their names. He was not a Zeus. He's a Barney. That's his name, Barney. His official name, the one that I registered with the American Mongrel Association, is Dr. Bernard K. Fine Dog. And it turns out Barney was Jewish. And we know that, well, let me show you how we know that. This is our dog Barney. He's a pure Mongrelian. He's registered with the American Mongrel Association. He comes from Puerto Rico, and we found out soon after we received him that apparently he's Jewish because he observes Jewish dietary rules. For example, the opposite of kosher is treif, something that's not able to be eaten. So I'm going to offer him a treat. And that's treif. Good boy. But let me look more carefully. It's kosher. Good boy. And he's also respectful of other religions, for example, Islam. The word haram means something that's forbidden. So let's try another treat here. Okay. Now that's haram. Yeah, we wouldn't eat that. And it's halal. And even Christianity. Here's a treat. And now, Barney, this is tasty. Yeah, we wouldn't eat that. But no, I'm sorry. It's bland. Thank you very much, Barney. So one day Barney came down with kennel cough. And so I called the veterinarian, and he said, look, give him these pills. You want to wrap them in cheese so he'll swallow them, which he did. And a couple of days he was fine. But apparently he really liked the taste of that cheese. Because even now, every once in a while, he'll walk over to us and go, And you know how they say dogs and their owners, they begin to look alike and act alike, a little reciprocity goes on between them? In our house, it's a little bit strange, but my dog gives me kisses, and my wife turns around 3 times before she sits. A friend of mine was telling me he had this dog with him when he went to IKEA, and it was summertime, very hot day. There's no way he was going to leave the dog in the car, but he noticed other people were taking dogs into the store. So he took him. A guard stopped him. He said, "Sir, is that a service animal?" He said, "Yes, it is." He said, describe his duties. He said, brown.